right, good morning. Baseball and Coffee is back Wednesday, February 4th, 10 a.m. Big day today. A lot of stuff going on. Nothing bigger than this Tarek Skubal ARB case. A lot riding on this for the future, but also, for the present as well. For Tarek himself, for the Tigers, what are they going to pay him? What does it all mean? What's going to come out of this? We'll definitely talk a little bit about that. I think that's the first thing. Obviously, we'll get into the Donovan trade. That was a big move. We got winter ball. We got WBC rosters being announced tomorrow. All the rosters are in. We have some minor moves that happened. So we'll touch on all of that. Thanks for hanging with me this morning as I try to get my drinks ready. I got to shake up the magic juice to hopefully hydrate this body and get feeling a little better so we can get over the hump here. And I got, of course, the coffee because that's what we do on the show. We watch baseball, we drink coffee. So thanks for hanging. Let's see what we got here today. Let's head over to the main screen. And let me just start deleting things because I have not touched my computer since Monday's show. Well, my iPad at least since Monday's show. Okay. Oh, yep. Carlos Santana as well signs with the Diamondbacks. So the dreams of the Paul Goldschmidt reunion seem like they might be a little fading, but we'll get to that in a minute. Okay. Just peeking around here before we get into talking about our main stuff. All right, all looks pretty normal. Let me go log into my app here real quick. And then, yep, coffee makes us smile. That's right. Let me sign into this so that we're all loaded up. And we'll get this day off and rolling with the baseball chatter. All right, so winter ball. Got to rewind a couple days because we missed some action. Just curious to see RID over Puerto Rico, Mexican Rojo over Panama, and then last night, Mexican Rojo over Puerto Rico and Verde over Panama. Okay, so Dominican's still sitting pretty. We'll get into that later. All right. Thank you, DK Ghost. All right, so we're going to get into this today. Tarek Skubal is the man of the hour today. Big ARB hearing coming up today. Historic ARB hearing coming up today. $13 million, if my calculations are correct. Yep, $13 million gap. $13 million gap, which means $6.5 million above his filing figure. So that takes us to $25.5 million is the midpoint. He has to prove that he's worth $1 over $25.5 million, and the Tigers have to prove that he's worth $1 less than $25.5 million. And that's what will happen. Now, one thing I mentioned yesterday in my Discord that, may or may not be a factor, depends on how corrupt or how, or basically what your level of skepticism is with this process. But there was already 2 ARB hearings that were announced yesterday, the results of. They should be here. There was 2 of them. The bottom line is the players won both. See if I can't find that. Why am I not seeing it over here? Players won both. And usually, as I've mentioned before, almost always, at the end of, Yanier Diaz won one. He got 4.5 instead of the team's 3. So that was a big step up. Extra 1.5 million that he could have lost on. And then there's another one here from 2 days ago. They usually do one a day once they get cracking on him. What was the other one? Yep, Kyle Bradish. He'll be paid 3.55 million over, and instead of the 2.875. That was, thank you, Josh. That was submitted by the Orioles. So typically, as I've mentioned, the amount of wins and losses on the player and the team side tend to be about equal. So coming into this big day, there's already 2 ahead. The players are already 2 ahead here. So typically, you would think that this would start to even out pretty quickly, which isn't necessarily a great indication for Tarek, who obviously as a player, I'm rooting for him in this case. I think it would be really cool to set a new benchmark. I love the fact that he is allowed to compare himself to the rest of the league, not just other ARB cases. So that allows him to compare himself to like a Zach Wheeler, etc., and those people that are up around the $40 million value. And obviously, when you're comparing Tarek over the last 2 seasons and really the last 4 seasons, but really the last 2, obviously, since he won the Cy Young, it's going to be pretty hard to stack up against him. He's going to have a pretty good case. Cumulative over the past 2 seasons, average 6.4 WAR per season, 2.3 ERA and 62 starts, 387 and a third, ERA plus of 180, so 80% better than league average as a starter. Pretty dang good FIP too, 2.47 FIP, 0.906 WHIP, only 6.6 hits per 9, less than 1 home run per 9, less than 2 walks per 9, and almost 11 strikeouts per 9. So 6.9 strikeouts to walk ratio. Again, it's going to be interesting. What are the Tigers going to say today that is going to help them prove their case? They do have history on their side a little bit. Highest pitcher ever was David Price, right around 20 million. I believe it was 20 million. So, to get over that $25.5 million line is a big deal. That's a huge raise. Also, this would also be the biggest raise in history. Previously, DeGrom had the biggest raise. So he's looking to set 2 records here, kind of reshape the market and drag all the players along with him. Obviously, being a Boris guy, this is something that they probably thought about for a while. Scott woke up today feeling extra good, put on an extra, an extra fancy little suit or tux or whatever he's going to wear. Got himself all looking good, ready to go into the hearing and raise some hell today. So I'm curious how this one turns out. Unfortunately, there's no it will not be televised, which, man, this would get some sick ratings if you put this on a platform, because just a window into any ARB hearing would be interesting to see what they say on both sides and kind of for the fans to get an experience of the process. But when you have $13 million on the line, and honestly, like, this is a big deal for the Tigers. I think they're going to have to come out hot. You can't tiptoe into this and think you're going to win it. Now, if I'm Skubal, as I've mentioned before, I'm doing the Lincecum. I'm bringing both trophies, both Cy Youngs, up and putting them on the table next to me as I sit down. Just setting the mood that way. So that's what I would do. And I'm curious how this is going to go. All right, what do we got in the chat? Feels like the Tigers are going to win mostly because the arm system isn't set up for guys like him in his career, only kicking into elite the last couple of years. Yeah, I mean, like, again, this would be setting a new precedent. This would be changing the game from what we've seen before, but that's why this one's so curious to me. And I think this, I named the stream today All Eyes on Skubal on the thumb, and I feel like it is true. All eyes are on this guy. This is a big deal. These prices, if they get out of hand, it makes it tougher for teams that don't want to spend at the very, very high end to hold on to their guys for that full 6 years of control. It's going to start to feel like 4 and change years of control before you have to make a decision on a guy. If the salary starts to get to an uncomfortable level. And if Skubal loses, I mean, he's still a wealthy man. He'll still have a huge raise. It'll be $19 million. He'll be headed into this season, guns blazing, hoping to, crush everybody on the free agent market this next year. Personally, I think he's got a great case. I don't know what they're going to say against him. I think if you're comparing him to these other guys that are in the 40s or the upper 30s of millions, I think he's got a great case, and he's not even asking for that money. He's asking for 32. So, I don't know. To be a fly on the wall in that deliberation room between the 3 arbiters would be really, really cool. But I do think that there is a world. Spectre's asking here, in what world does he lose? There's a world because, again, it's a huge jump up from what we've seen before, what we've seen previous. So it will take a leap of faith to stand behind it and say, you know what, this is what's right. I think a lot of times we fall in line with what's happened before and what's happened in history. And also, they don't have to explain themselves. So again, I'm not believing in necessarily corruption or, things being shady, but at the same time, the fact that the wins and losses tend to even out at the end is a big factor, in my mind at least, and also just the fact that we don't really get any explanation what happens in terms of how the decisions are thought through and how they're obtained. I think that's also very iffy and makes this one tricky. So it's going to be very fascinating. Is it what he's worth or what he's worth on the free market? Because I feel like those are different. They are different. All he can do is compare himself to other people. All he can do is compare himself to others. Now, because he has 5 years of service time within the CBA, that allows him to compare himself to all pitchers and all contracts across the league. So that opens him up legally to argue himself compared to, like a Garrett Cole, a Zach Wheeler, Scherzer when he made the 43, or Verlander. He can argue against all of these. He can argue all those points. Will it matter? Don't know. In the free market, honestly, you have no idea what you're worth until you're out there and you see, because you're worth what somebody's willing to give you. I think if somebody would have pegged the number on Juan Soto, it wouldn't have probably been over $50 million a year, but that's how it worked out in the free market. So it's all very fascinating. But again, all eyes are on this one. This is going to be a big one. This is going to be a big deal. So I'm excited to see what happens here. If a 2-time Cy Young isn't worth 30 AAV, who is? Yeah, it's just that this process is such a, it's in the shadows. We don't know. Obviously, we assume this is taking place in Arizona, but that's all we know. Maybe it's Florida. Maybe the Boris Corp and Scoobs had to fly to Florida for this, but I don't know. Do I think Boris has a suit with the Boris Corp B embroidered onto it? Probably on the inside. Every time I see him, he's always quite dapper. He's big into like velvet and suede and all sorts of interesting materials. And, I don't know. Scott Boras is an interesting guy when you see him in person. So I'm sure he's got everything bespoke and designed for him. And he's pulling out his best of everything today for this hearing, because he needs to go in there feeling himself, and he's trying to move the needle today. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. It's not about actual logic. It's all about precedent and legal stuff. There's a reason the Tigers filed at $19 million. There is. And, they could have filed even lower, really, to try to, because $19 million is a pretty high filing number for a club. But at the same time, I think if I were them, I would have filed a touch higher. I think I would have filed like at $21 million. So at least I could say, hey, we offered him a record amount. That's a very fair offer. I think that would have been easier for them probably in the ARB case, in the ARB hearing, but they didn't decide to go that way. So again, the midpoint's going to be at, I think I just calculated at like $25.5 million. So I think that's the biggest, factor. That's the midpoint. It's a big departure from what we've seen before, but is he worth it? I mean, yeah, if we're being objective, he is absolutely worth it, and then some. So we'll just have to see how this plays out through this process. Unfortunately, all we're going to get is an answer. We're not going to get any reasoning. So it kind of sucks. This is a question I have too. Will they move him if he wins? Like all of a sudden he's making so much money. That has to change the formula a little bit for the Tigers. It also changes the acquisition cost a little bit if they were to flip him. We just saw Freddie Peralta get traded. He's only making $8 million this year. I mean, he's no Tarek Skubal, but he is an ace. And the cost, the financial cost, is a big factor in terms of the return typically. Now, not to say he wouldn't get a great return at $32 million. He would, because he's that special and he can impact, potentially a World Series win this season. But yeah, I think it has some effect on the quality of prospect you're getting back, or the ultimate amount of value you're getting back in a trade, whether it's now or at the deadline. Or if the Tigers decide that they're just hanging on for dear life and they're going to do a Rockies with Trevor Story or a Brewers with Adames and be content getting the draft pick when he inevitably goes somewhere else after this year. There's a lot to balance in your head here. Obviously, every team has a desire to win. You don't get into baseball if you don't have a desire to win, if you're a front office or whatever, but then you have to weigh this out. near term, long term. And this is a big factor. I mean, 13 million hangs in the balance here, and that's not an insignificant sum of money. Garrett Crochet signed 6-year, $170 million contract extension with the Red Sox in April 25, making it the largest contract for a pitcher with 4+ years of service. Yeah, Crochet got paid very, very well. And I was actually stunned at the time. I mean, it looks great now. But at the time, because he had barely thrown any innings, I was just like, man, like, is he going to be able to do this? But I mean, he shut me up and shut everybody up, and he's a stud. 205 innings last year. But anyway, yeah, you go look at this contract that he's under. He's going to be averaging 28, 29 million the rest of the way. He's also probably going to get a salary increase if he keeps finishing in the top 10 of MVP voting, which I assume he did this year. I don't know, did he? Or just in Cy? Oh yeah, 8th in the MVP. So if he continues what he's doing, like, he'll find a way to earn even more on this contract. But again, these aren't really apples to apples. Skubal's got the double Cy Youngs. He's got more service time. He's really close to free agency. He's allowed to compare himself to all players. So even though these guys are often compared to each other due to the fact that they both throw with their left hand, they finish 1-2 in the Cy Young. In a lot of ways, they feel like, rivals, even if they're not. This is kind of irrelevant, his contract. However, I feel like this is like the worst Skubal could ever do, is what Crochet is doing, 29, 30 million a year. So interesting. Do I think it impacted their free agency plans? It must have, right? I mean, this is holding up a lot of stuff. The Tigers are not a freewheeling spending team, as we've discussed in the past. They used to be right before the old man passed away, but ever since the younger Illiches of running the team, they've been a lot more frugal. They haven't just blindly spent, and they haven't had a juggernaut team in a long time. Now, they did spend some money this offseason. They brought back Glaber on the qualifying offer, and then they did some things in the pitching department, particularly the bullpen, bringing in Kenley and Finnegan. I would have liked to see them push in a little bit more, but this is a key point here by Uncle Ted. 13 million is another starter for the Tigers. So again, they could have shopped in, and I think they might still be shopping in that aisle. The Chris Bassett, Lucas Giolito. I don't know if they might be worth more than 13. I'm not really sure, but that type of aisle, like, there's still plenty of good pitchers out there. Gallen, Framber, actually a whole bunch of pitchers are still out there. But I think, yeah, I mean, it affects them. Like, if they have to spend all this money on one guy, I don't think that's the best outcome, possible. Ultimately, they'd like to strengthen their team a little further. So this is a big deal. Yeah, Framber, Bassett, JV, Nick Martinez, Giolito, Corbin, Littell is a pretty solid guy. Keller, Gallen, Canning, Savali, Quintana, who's been sneaky, much better than people realize. Dustin May signed. Paddock, Coulomb, Shelby. These are relievers now. I'm looking for more starters. Scherzer. I don't think Morton's still going. Marquez is an interesting bounce back-ish candidate. Might be past it. Tyler Anderson. Stroman, Sugano. I guess Urquidy, who's been playing in winter ball. Nestor, John Gray, Walker Buehler. Like, there's still plenty of starters out there, which is crazy because I was mentioned how everybody feels like everybody's doing so well in free agency this year. But dark times are coming, and the pain is coming for a lot of free agents because we're getting right up on spring training. I mean, most people are there. Michael King just handed me back the mound he borrowed from me yesterday because he's flying to Arizona tomorrow. So it's go time, and none of these guys can go right now. So I do find the timing of this interesting, and it'll kind of dictate whether the Tigers are going to do a little bit more, because at the moment right now, Skubal, Flaherty, Mize, Olsen, Anderson, for a team that's definitely trying to win that AL Central, they could use another guy. They could use a guy that could slot in, honestly, right under Skubal. I think that would make them a much better threat to win this division again, or to get close to it. So I don't know. We'll see how this goes, but I wonder when we get the results later today. Very excited to see, and then see what the reaction is. There's going to be a huge reaction either way, so it's going to be very, very intriguing. Also, why are the Tigers so committed to not negotiating between filing and the hearing? So the file and trial methodology that most teams use now, there's always exceptions to the rule. Like if I were them, I'd probably still be negotiating. But I think both sides seem hell-bent on going. I think the Tigers want to stick to their file and trial strategy because that's what they want to employ universally. And I think clearly Scott and Tarek want to move the needle here. So both sides are pretty dug in. Not to say something couldn't still be agreed upon even before the hearing actually begins, which does happen from time to time. But I don't know, man. This would be a tough case to prepare for on the team side. I don't know what you're looking at. I don't know what you're looking at. I guess you're looking at before these 2 years when he was like merely great instead of the best. So I don't know. Bring back Max or JV. This is a very good option for the Tigers as well. Obviously, the fans would love this. Both former great Tigers. JV, when he goes in the Hall of Fame, I still think it's maybe Tigers hat. So, it'd be cool to see one of those guys run it back. Who knows what the pricing and all that stuff is. But I do think the extra 13 will make a big difference in what they're able to do. What else we got? The Tigers should spend that money regardless. They have a window right now. I do. And, we're actually going to talk about the Mariners in a little bit, the team that they lost to by 1 run, 1 pitch, in that epic last game before they had to go play the Jays in the postseason. And I think Seattle might be putting together the most well-rounded ball club in the American League right now in a lot of ways. But the Tigers were right there. They're right there. They're a good club. They have a lot of players that are coming into their own. Riley Green, Torkelson, Carpenter. They have guys. I'd like to see them do more and push, to your point here, Josh, but I'm not sure how hard they will actually push. If he wins, trade Skubal, get a haul, then sign Framber short term. Not sure what the Framber market's like. This has been as quiet as anything, and I don't like the rumors, but I haven't heard hardly anything at all. I mean, I saw something today about Blue Jays, Framber, maybe some connection there, but with him, I'll just believe it when I see it. Whoever does get this player, if they're able to steal him for a short term or a lesser dollar value, they're going to have done a great job regardless of the perception of who he is as a person and stuff like that. I mean, he's a hell of a pitcher. I read Boris controlled this whole thing and stopped negotiating early. Yes, so Boris is hell-bent on doing this, clearly, and I think Skubal's on board with that. I mean, they're kind of sending a giant middle finger a little bit to the Tigers with him pitching in Team USA as well. Tigers don't want that. They don't want to take on all this risk, this risk in this hearing. This is very uncomfortable. But Skubal and Boris are leaning into the uncomfortability, so we'll see. Isn't teams like the Tigers lowballing your star players in arbitration basically mean you piss off your star player and they'll never resign? I think we're already there with Skubal. I don't think there's any way he's resigning. I think at this point he's headed to a big market, somebody who's going to set a new number. That $400 million total guarantee is definitely in his sights, I would imagine. Garrett and Yamamoto, Garrett Cole and Yoshinobu Yamamoto have the highest ever free agency cumulative signing numbers. I think they're in the mid 300 millions. Low to mid 300 millions, and if Skubal can get over that 400 million line, I think that would be the goal. So who's going to be able to afford that? If it's 40 million a pop, 10 years, something like that, or more than 40 million a pop for less than 10 years, it's probably the big market clubs. I mean, I'm not going to mention them, but we all know who they are. So we'll see. We'll see who's willing to stretch for a pitcher because a lot of these teams aren't. So I'd be curious to see who is. Does the way they're going about this seem like they know they aren't re-signing Skubal, so why pay him extra? Yes, that's exactly what I was just saying, and that's exactly what I think. That's exactly what I think. I think they know he's not coming back. They know that they can't really afford that. But I think if you know that, they should have maybe gotten ahead of it and traded him. It's just hard to give up on the best pitcher in the sport because that raises your ceiling so much. And, again, you play baseball to compete. And I mentioned they were 1 run away from getting to the CS last year, and then who knows? So, you got a great manager. You've done some things with your bullpen. You have guys coming into your own. But obviously, without Skubal, this team's not going in. They're not good enough. They don't have enough starting pitching without him. So it's a tough one, man. This is as tough as it's ever been. A lot of teams would prefer to not be this good at this moment so you can recoup the value and, move your organization forward. But it's a little harder than that here. If you see a player linked to the Jays, it means we won't land him. Yeah. A lot of Jays fans, it looks like, in the chat today, which I love. Skubal for Barrios and 3 of the Jays' top 10 prospects. So that's one of those things where it's like, maybe if you were going to see a trade before opening day, it would be some sort of combination of another guy who can slot right in the rotation, his spot, plus the prospects to regroup. So it would be sort of this type of offer typically. But again, is Barrios the specific guy they want? Probably not. So I don't know. I don't know what's being thrown at them. I've been calling for the Mets to go hunt Skubal as well, but they'd probably have to part with some pieces they don't want to part with, and that's the really hard part about that job, I think. The Jays signed Framber. Barrios has to be traded. Yeah, I mean, they're 6 deep right now. The Jays are at starter, so they do have a little bit of an issue. If they do sign Framber, like, I love it, but man, they've done a lot. Gosman, Cease, Bieber, Savage, Barrios, Ponce. So yeah, I mean, they're 6 deep right now. You bring in Framber, he's gonna, in my opinion, he'd be their ace. So they could use a lefty. I mean, I think it'd make them a hell of a lot better. But then what do you do? How do you juggle the rest of it? I guess you figure that out. Who's got value? What can you do to overall strengthen your team as you continue to push in? They're spending a ton of money. This is probably the most the Jays have ever spent, I would imagine. They're all in. They were all in on Tucker and they didn't get him. So they're looking for a lot of ways to improve their team. I'm excited to watch them play. All right, what else we got here? Feels like if he wins, he's a Dodger for Sasaki plus prospects. Sasaki's trade value got to be way down right now. After we went over him the other day, it's got to be way down. No way. He rocked my hat on the show yesterday? That's freaking fire. I got to write him about that. That's great. I love that. Brad, you back there? Okay. All right. So we'll get through. We'll talk about this real quick. Do you like the Jays with the 6-man with a short off season? I think it makes sense. Yeah, I have no problem. I mean, you need more guys always. I mean, it takes an army, and 5 is not enough. But I love the 6 plus Ponce could easily be a relief pitcher if everything went perfect, which it never does. Like, nothing's ever going to go perfect. So it's great that they have these many options. There's some question marks with Bieber's elbow, how much workload they want Trey to take on. As great as this is, there's some question marks. So I like the six people. It's part of the reason why I'm okay with the Mets rotation too right now. There's 6 of them. So we'll see. We'll see. Also, trading Sasaki was a Bleacher Report idea, and there's no way it's ever going to happen. There's no way. Because I also think the Dodgers, they're paying him the league minimum, and I think they're content on developing him a little bit. I think that's kind of how they signed him in the first place, was kind of like a promise, like, hey, we're going to get you to your top level. Like, let's solve this problem together, And I think that's very important to note. Dodgers have so many outfield prospects, including Northeastern product Mike Sirota. They got to trade someone. Sirota was great last year. Hopefully he can keep pushing towards Chavez Ravine. We're going to talk about the Donovan trade in 1 second. Let me answer this question, and then we'll switch over to the Donovan trade. Best clubhouse chess player. Oof. So in Colorado, we had like a chess club. Like, literally, we would play chess all day long in the clubhouse. The strength coach, Mike Jasperson, one of my favorite people in baseball, was a Utah high school state champion in chess. So he schooled us like crazy. Obviously, he's not a player, but he was nasty. He schooled us. Boone Logan was okay. Chad Bettis was pretty good. DJ and me were about similar level at the time. LeMahieu. And then, Ryan Hannigan, who was a catcher who came over to us. He had been with the Red Sox. He was really good. He used to beat my ass a lot. Checkmated him a few times. But overall, I think he had me. And then, in the other years, I've played a lot versus Garrett, of course, Garrett Cole. I've played a lot with some Mets guys, particularly some Latino guys that were pretty good. A lot of Latino guys are good at chess. Omar Narvaez comes to mind, a few others. But Jeff Brigham with the Mets used to beat me. I could not beat him. From what I've heard, Stephen Kwan is one of the best in the world. I played Manaya, who got beat by Kwan last year. I played Manaya a lot. He's okay. Played a lot against Jeremy Hefner and coaches, but haven't found that one, like, grandmaster of baseball chess yet. I guess Stephen Kwan, without me having seen it myself, would probably get that label. But I don't know, mostly just fun games. People play cards, but then there's always a group of us playing chess. Okay, time to get into the Brendan Donovan trade. Brendan Donovan, big blockbuster trade, three-way trade between the Cardinals, of course, the Rays find their way into a trade, and the Mariners. So Brendan Donovan, if you're not familiar with him, he was a 7th rounder in 2018, South Alabama. That's where David Freese went. So Cardinals have had some success with South Alabama college guys over the years. This guy's just a good ball player, plays all over the field, really good contact hitter, but also has a little bit of power, mostly gap to gap. Really good, tough guy to face. Career 117 OPS plus right now. Just put up a 2.7 WAR season and 460 at-bats. Hit 287 last year. Grinder. Rare type of player in today's world, where he's really good at setting the table. And he's been consistent. I mean, I know batting average isn't anyway, but 280 everything, but 281, 284, 278, 287, way above average. On base percentages, career 361. It's fantastic. Mariners have a pretty good lineup, so he's going to slot right in there. And I was wondering if they were going to be able to pry him away, if they were going to be the team. And I love it for the Mariners. And I'm starting to think the Mariners are now probably my favorite in the American League. I think they have a little easier path in the AL West than some of these AL East teams that are going to be grinding it out the whole year. And they just have a very complete team right now. Very well balanced. Let's look at the lineup with Donnie in there, who's, as of right now, penciled in at third base. Donovan, Cal, Julio, Naylor. Wow. Arozarena, Canzone, who was quietly really good. He'll be in there versus righties. J.P. Crawford, Robles, Cole Young with Colt Emerson coming, who's the top prospect. If Colt Emerson knocks the door down, they can always move Donovan to second and clear room for Emerson. He's got a chance to impact this team. But that's a really nice combination of power, contact, righties, lefties, speed. That's going to be a very tough team to face. I'll tell you that right now. Not to mention Ref Snyder is the righty when they face lefties that'll probably play for Canzone. So at all times, they're going to have a very tough lineup to navigate. I know they play in a horrible place to hit, but Donovan, if he can be on base for Cal Raleigh, that's not a good place to be as a pitcher. Cal Raleigh, I mean, who knows if he'll duplicate what he did last year, but at a minimum, this guy hits home runs. So for the Mariners, I absolutely love this trade. I know they gave up a lot of prospect value here, but they have to push all in. They were another team they were so close to the World Series, losing on an epic Game 7 to the Blue Jays in CS. We've known about the epic starting pitching that they have. They run that right back. Wu, Gilbert, Castillo, Kirby, Miller. Also Kate Anderson coming and some others. I love this team. I really love this team. If I was a Mariners fan, this is one of the better Mariner teams I've seen in a long time. Come opening day, I even like the sneaky trade for Ferrer. It's got great stuff. They needed a late inning lefty to pair with Spire. Some of these guys did throw too much, and we'll see how that affects them down the stretch. Brash tends to get abused, and Bizzardo was totally abused in the postseason. But again, this is a really solid group. Vargas has good stuff. The pitching staff is solid, and the lineup is so much better than it used to be. I mean, even 2 years ago, it was one of those things where it was like this team can pitch, but they can't hit. And now, in a short amount of time, Raleigh took the leap. Julio's taking the leap. They get Naylor, and now they have Donovan, and they're a whole different offense. So let me get into the chat here a little bit and see what you guys are thinking. Donovan trade sneaky good. I don't even think sneaky. I just think flat out great trade. I bet you a lot of people were on to the Donovan sweepstakes. How much do I believe in a George Kirby bounce back? Just 2 years ago, he was getting Maddox comparisons. I don't think he did poorly at all last year. I know he had a little bit of a bad stretch, but I am massive on George Kirby. I've always been massive on George Kirby. I think the biggest thing, especially regular season George Kirby, is his floor is so freaking high because he refuses to walk you. I know it's a 4.21, but you got to remember he started the year kind of hurt and he got off to a slow start when he started. Still had a 1.19 whip, very workable in a quote-unquote down year. Look, he throws hard. I do think he lacks a little bit of deception, but he's got exceptional command and walk rate. I mean, he's basically the best overall control pitcher we've seen come around in a long time in terms of walk rate as a starter, and he combines that with really good shit. I mean, he's throwing 96-1. He's got good breaking ball, got good, both types of fastballs are good. I do think that they're continuing to learn exactly how to utilize his pitches. I thought he got a little predictable in the Blue Jays series. He definitely struggled at times, but I'm huge on George Kirby. I think George Kirby's on the, it looks like it's his birthday too, with the present here. I'm really, really big on him. I think he's got an outside shot of being a Cy Young Award winner at some point. If the stars align and you figure out your usage, but you already have 80 grade command and control, the ceiling is super high. He could easily have a year where things break his way with batted ball luck, and he puts up like a high 2 ERA and throws 200 innings, and he'll be right in the conversation. So I'm massive on him. Could not be more bullish, and fascinated to see how that works. Let's look at Donovan's Savant page. I mean, it's a very good Savant page, folks. Very good. Expected batting average, great. Ex-Woba, great. Even the stuff he's not great at, he's still around league average. Exit velocity, barrels, hard hit. It's all fine for a contact guy. It's not exactly like an Arise profile. There's a little bit more to it. Happy birthday, George Kirby. Bat speed's slow, but that's not really his game, you know. Walk percentage, pretty good for a guy who swings a lot. So controls the zone, kind of does a little bit of everything at the plate, and I think he's a perfect fit in this lineup. Defensively, yeah, I mean, look, the outs above average, they're not outstanding, but they're not that bad either. -1's fine. Haven't seen him much at third. He had 87th percentile outs above average just a year ago, so I'm not really clear on how much of a defender he is, but I don't think he's a negative. I think third base, I mean, at least I'm more confident than maybe Bo Bichette at third base at the moment. I think this guy still has range. Arm strength's fine, above average arm strength. Should be fine with the throws. Just a ball player, just a grinder. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does look at third, and if he doesn't move back to second again, like if Emerson comes up. But I like that they have that option, that he can move around the infield. But just a really good player, really consistent offensive player. You look at all the offensive numbers, they've been really consistent every year. Not really much of a drop-off. Same guy every year. Really short swing. Allows him to square the ball up really well. Really low whiff percentage. I mean, he's averaging he's got 14.7 whiff percentage for his career, 25 is league average. Doesn't swing a lot at the first pitch. Maybe that's an opportunity if he wants to do a little bit more damage, but his job on this team is going to be to get on base. And I think he's going to do a good job of it. I really do. I like him. I like him a lot. I love this pickup. This is a great move. Yeah, I was just thinking about this too. I didn't see your question until just now, but does it worry me at all? I mean, no, I don't know. I mean, obviously he's played mostly second base, but I think he's capable. I think he's more than capable of getting the job done at third base. And, you know, kind of the utility thing has kind of been one of his calling cards. So, I don't know. I just love this. How much control does Brendan have? He is at 4 years exactly of service time. So they're going to have him for this year and next. That's kind of the window for the Mariners this year and next, in my mind. They're going to start getting expensive. Guys like, Raleigh's locked up, but some of these pitchers, like, it's going to be hard to keep this group together. So it's this year and next. And again, I think, I'm not setting the betting lines or anything, but I think I would have the Mariners as probably my highest probability postseason team in the AL. And I think on paper, they might be the most complete team. It's pretty close. I really like this team. Really, really do. Yep, Mariners are stacked. Couldn't agree more. What happened to Luzardo Montes? He's one of their prospects, correct? He's the big boy prospect. Yeah, I think we looked at him when we looked at the top prospects. Yeah, Lázaro Montes. This is This is just a massive power prospect. Yeah, this is like he doesn't hit for a high average or whatever, and he's just getting into double A, so he's still a ways away, but this guy crushes dingers. So this guy will be coming soon. We'll see how that goes, but this is what they have coming. Cole Emerson, who's more of a third baseman here, listed as a shortstop. Cade Anderson, fresh out of LSU, but he's going to move quick. He's a quick mover. And then we'll see who else impacts them. But, I mean, they're in a great spot, man. They really are. I know they just gave up Durangelo, but they're in a good spot. We'll get into the Cardinals side of this in a minute. Montes is super similar to Spencer Jones. Yeah, big power, big swing and miss. Brian Wu, Cy Young incoming. I mean, it could be. It could be. I really think between Gilbert, Wu, and Kirby, they have guys that have that upside that can get there, you know? All right. What else we got here? Would you rather have had Donovan or Polanco if you're the Mariners? Me, I'd rather have Donovan, personally. I think Polanco had a great year hitting last year, but he's been a little up and down. He's older. I would have taken the shot with Donovan. I like Donovan, personally. I might, people might disagree. Yeah, I saw it's like Sinjay is the last name. Something like that. Somebody help me. Yeah, it is a very juicy Savant page for Donnie. It really is. It's really good. It's very juicy, man. He's a good player. Really good player. Let's watch him hit some opposite field doubles for a minute. I know the Cardinals have not been very good last year, but this guy's got such a compact swing. Just a tough guy to face. Covers the whole zone. You know, I've talked so much on this channel about swing length and why I think it matters. Donovan has a very, very short swing, but he also is not at the very bottom of the barrel like in a Rise or a Jacob Wilson with bat speed either. Like, it's low, but it's not at the very bottom of the barrel. So also I like the hair salad he's got going on there as well. Here's a homer. Pull side, ding dong. Ooh, Fenway. Right field on Fenway is pretty deep. Let me back that up so we get a better view. Walker Buehler, 3-1, challenge heater, pulls it down in. That's kind of where you're going to see his home runs come from. But they're not signing him for the home runs. They're signing him to get on base and let Julio and Cal and Naylor hit those balls, drive him in. So that's what we are looking at. Let's see a line drive up the middle.
Look good. Chip, you wear those with your suits. I do. I have great ankles. Line drive into center.
A little clean line drive to center. Beautiful little stroke right there. And the Cardinals have done quite a bit of wheeling and dealing and trading. So let's get into the Cardinals side of this right now. Obviously, of course, the Rays are involved in this too. But here's the official full trade here. Mariners send Ben Williamson to the Rays, as well as Durangelo, Sinjay, and Ty Pete in a competitive balance B pick, 68 overall to the Cardinals. Cardinals are also getting the 72nd overall pick from the Rays. So they clean up big time in terms of future assets. They get a couple prospects, Ty Pete and Durangelo, who's the switch pitcher. Looks like he's more of a righty starter. Love you. But they also get 2 more picks, and they're stacking picks big time in this draft. I think there's a comment in here about that. Where is that? There's something in here about the Cardinals. Yes, Cardinals, I think, have 7 or 6 picks now in the top 100 of the upcoming draft. So let Heim cook, baby. Heim's stacking assets. He's also really kind of moved himself towards the pitching side of things. So what it looks like to me. Interesting little strategy, or maybe it's just overall value. But he goes ahead and he gets both of these guys. I mean, Ty Pete's an outfielder, but here is Mr. Sinjay, which is what I'm being told here. Where is that? Per Dutch friend, Saint-Ya. I just want to get his name right. I don't want to be disrespectful at all. anyway, between two teams, between high A and double A last year, this guy put up a, just a shade under 4 ERA in 108 innings, punched out a $120, walked 51. It's probably too many walks, but he was hard to hit. We all know about the switch pitching. Seems like he's mainly a righty. He's a better pitcher righty. And lefty's got a pretty good breaking ball that he can maybe break out in a tough matchup situation. But here are the scouting grades when you're looking at him overall. 60 grade fastball. I've seen him up to 98, 99. Slider, changeup, control. He's got pretty good control right-handed. He's a 55 starting prospect right-handed. That's a big deal. Left-handed, 50 slider. 50 fastball, 55 slider, less control, less exciting overall. But, he can flip that around and throw some left-on-left sweepers, and I think that's a great thing to be able to do. I would have loved to do that. He was just taken 15 overall in the draft. Let's see what it says here. Cranks his fastball up to 98. Mid-80 slider, touches 90, 91 with depth. As a lefty, he's more of a reliever. Lower slot, sweeper, low 90s fastball. So it's crazy to throw 90 from both sides. I'm nowhere near that right now from one side. But I don't know. We'll see what they do with him, and they are starting to really stack it up. This is the Cardinals minor league system right now. And I have to say, it's got to be moving up the charts. Weatherholt, he's a Rookie of the Year candidate. Doyle, an explosive lefty out of University of Tennessee, high draft pick last year. Raniel Rodriguez, big catching prospect. Durangelo, Bernal's another. They have 3 catching prospects in the top 7, so you can expect one of those guys to be probably moved at some point. Quinn Matthews is an exciting pitcher. He's probably going to get there this year. Brandon Clark, the guy from the Red Sox, is an absolute lottery ticket. He throws flames. A bunch of these names I don't know about. Here's Ty Pete, who they just got. Ty Pete was a first rounder as well, signed for a little under slot, $2.5 million. Georgia two-way prospect. Bats lefty, throws righty, hit 40, power 55, runs 60, arm 60, fielding 55, overall 45. So there's an outfield prospect with some big upside. Pretty raw player. But still 70 bags over his first 2 seasons in pro ball. Let's see what the stats were overall on Ty last year. He played in Everett, so high A, only hit 217 with a 288 on base, so the results were not really there. Did pump 19 homers, steal 25 bags, struck out a lot. This guy just looks like he has to learn how to play the game a little bit more, but he's got big raw abilities, so that's what the Cardinals are going on there. Continuing to look at their top prospects, Tink Hence is a guy who's been hyped for a while. He should probably impact this year if he can stay healthy. So Cardinals are kind of doing it, man. They're stacking it up, and it won't be long before this team's something to be a force to be reckoned with. But at the moment, they are definitely stripped down. They traded pretty much everybody off this roster with value, veterans with value. So here's what they're looking at right now to start the season. Newbar, Herrera, Burleson, Gorman, Wynn, Weatherholt, Walker, Pajes, Scott. All young dudes. All young dudes. A lot of good players, though. Just young. Pozo, Fermin, Sagis, and Church on the bench, and then Libertor, May, who they did sign. He's an interesting signing. Palante, McGreevy, Leahy. A whole bunch of young dudes in the pen, plus Stanek and Jojo Romero. Again, they might be sneaky because they have a pretty good coaching staff, and Cardinals are never really, really awful, but they did trade an awful lot of good players off their roster, and they're kind of regrouping for the future. And that's what Heim does, and he does a very good job at that. All right, let me get in here. Well, they keep him as a switch pitcher. I think he's mostly a righty at this point. Obviously, everybody wants to be a starter. It's kind of hard to do this role as a starter with both arms, but I think, you continue to work on that lefty thing. It can help you in a big spot. Like, say you're dealing as a righty all game, but you get into a big spot versus a great lefty, and you know that you can maybe flip around and flip some sweepers in there. I think that would be an awesome advantage to have. Probably easier said than done in terms of staying hot and staying ready doing it, but I'd be curious to see if he can pull it off. Heim in full rebuild mode. And this is where he's best. He's unbelievable at building up assets within a system. He really is. That's his specialty. Look at some of the guys that are impacting the Red Sox that are young. Heim has his fingerprints all over that. Why not let the guy keep being a unicorn, even if the velo is down on the left side? I think they are to some extent. It's just the reality is he's just not as good left-handed. So if you're better right-handed, you got to let that rock. And I wouldn't say cancel, like completely cancel what he's doing left-handed, but pick your spots with it. Ty Pete can get exit velos into the high 110s, but has an awful approach right now. So though, again, so it's more of a physical thing. And then this is where player development is so important. What can you do to take advantage of the raw ability? Clearly, there's a speed power combo there with Ty Pete. Can they translate that into a major league ball player? We'll see. That's part 2. It's not only stacking assets; it's how you develop those assets. Hope the Cardinals let Bloom go through with this rebuild instead of firing him. So I think they are. I mean, they already gave him like a 5-year deal. They're in a different market. I know the Cardinals fans finally got pissed and they stopped showing up the last year and a half, but they'll be excited when like the young talent starts bubbling up. And people love watching debuts and they love watching rookies. I mean, all you have to do is check out my Met fans in here who have never seen Carson Bench play, but they swear he's going to be Mickey Mantle out there, Ted Williams out there. So again, there's something exciting about the unknown and the young, new, shiny toy. And eventually the Cardinals are going to have a whole bunch of these dudes coming to the big leagues. And they already have a bunch of young guys. So in a way, it's kind of fun to watch it. And like, they don't have any expectations to be good this year. It kind of resets the fans in a way. And this is the other thing. I mean, they're going to have even more. 6 picks in the top 86. So this is a massive draft for them. My buddy Pete Parisi, one of their scouts, is on the trail right now, finding the talent. Righty's had a 500 OPS versus Durangelo. The pronunciation is a bit softer on the S, closer to Santa. I just feel like I'm screwing it up. I wish I was doing better. The first syllable rhymes with daunt, so Santja. I want to get it right. I feel bad. I forget the Vendetti rule. If a switch pitcher commits to throw lefty at the start of maybe and they pinch hit with a righty, the pitcher's locked in. I don't think so. I just think if it's like switch versus switch, the hitter gets the preference. I think the hitter gets to do it because I've seen Durangelo face a guy right on left before, and I'm pretty sure it's because the hitter was a switch hitter. Although maybe he was just mostly pitching righty and only breaking out lefty for some guys. So we'll see. I put Pete's swing decisions in the Discord if I want to see them. Yeah, I see that. Let's see. Yeah. Plate discipline, 30th percentile, K percentage, 14th percentile, zone swing, 33rd percentile, zone whiff, 4th percentile. So those are the ones that are tough. Like you're missing in zone and then also chase. You can miss in zone if you never chase, but if you combine chase with miss in zone, you're in big trouble. So the most comparable MLB players by swing decision, we have Francisco Alvarez, who we know has struggled, Marani Mauricio, Spencer Jones, Yair Camargo, and Chadwick Trump. Not exactly the most inspiring group, but he's got big tools, so I don't think they need him this year. We'll see how they develop him. Baez is probably the next big riser for the Cardinals. Jesus Baez, infielder. Made it to Peoria. He was a Met. For Helsley. All right, so we'll see. Or it could be Joshua Baez. Which Baez are we talking about? Got a couple Baezes here. So we'll see. But, yeah, they're doing it. They're rebuilding it. Cardinal way, baby. Tink Hens is an elite baseball name. It is. It is. Does Newt get moved? I could see Newt getting moved, although, he's had a little bit of a troublesome time staying healthy, right? Newt Bar? Old Larsy. He threw 509 at-bats last year. He's stayed healthy a little bit more than I thought. I mean, I guess he had a little bit of injury issue in 23 and 24. He's a big on base with power type of guy at times, but hasn't really put that together yet. Career high 14 home runs. What's Newt Bar's page looking like? Really nice kid, by the way. About league average on defense. How was that in the previous years? Actually, he graded really well on defense in the previous year. So you're possibly getting a plus defender with a guy who has big power upside in that we've seen his EV and max EV numbers look very good. Chase is really good, so really good batting eye. I mean, he would help a lot of teams. I guess it depends on what the package would be. Right now, you're kind of selling low on him. So, I don't know. I don't know what, I mean, you would think he would be the next one to go. But again, you're kind of selling low on him. If it was 2023, when he came off of a 785 OPS, he might be a little more valuable at the moment. So maybe they'll let that play out. Just to name a few, Roman, Marcelo, Abreu, Rafaela, all Heim guys. Yep. Big time. Who's getting Skubal? This is a huge question. Huge question. I think a lot of the big teams will be in on him, but there's probably some teams that don't like to sign pitchers to the big money, so that's going to be interesting to see if they change their ways. Like the Mets are a good example of that. I think he would be a great fit, but will the Mets pay him top dollar as a pitcher? They haven't shown a willingness to do that yet. Baseball Reference has the splits. He's even better as a left-handed pitcher, better versus lefties as a righty. Okay, so that's Durangelo. Like, okay, so then maybe there's not as much of a need to throw left-handed unless there's a specific matchup where a left-on-left guy can't hit left-on-left sweepers. So. What? Benches and Aaron Judge? See? I know. I see you guys. I see you Met fans. I know the expectations. Let's see what the kid can do. Of course, you guys are probably all excited that you saw a clip of him getting some hard contact off Nolan McLean on the backfield. Relax. Spring training stats mean 0. Did I see Eno said they updated Stuff Plus metrics for sweepers, made a bunch worse in the metric. Can you explain how Stuff Plus measures pitches and what that means? I actually cannot explain this very well because let me go see if it changed any of my numbers. Because they bake the cake differently. Like the way that the inputs that he's putting into these Stuff Plus numbers are frankly a mystery to me. A lot of it probably has to do with all the different aspects: velocity, movement in both planes, approach angle, extension, all that stuff. And they're basically measuring how far away from the mean you are, I would imagine. And then based on that, typically that'll spit out a grade. There's probably also some element of previous results versus similar shapes that gets baked in, but I don't know exactly how Eno's doing this. And I also think a big advancement was that they started looking at your stuff as a package instead of just each pitch in an individual siloed vacuum. And that definitely changed things. Like, for example, years ago when I would look at my Stuff Plus, my four-seam fastball would always be below 100. But now in the context of the rest of my arsenal, it's saying I have a pretty damn good four-seam. A 111 grade four-seam. Like, that's exciting to know for a guy who throws poo balls, which is how I was the last 2 years. So you're telling me the last 2 years last 3 years, I still had a Stuff Plus of 105, 107, and 114, even with my velocity dropping off a cliff? Well, thank you very much, Eno, for this update. That makes me feel good. But you can't see how my slider kind of started going downhill when the velocity went downhill. But anyway, I don't really know how it's baked because it's baked differently for everybody. Got to just get that damn location score up, and we would have been cooking with gas. Although I call bullshit on some of that. All right, on to the next. Switch pitching would be an interesting way to avoid third time through the order penalties. And I think he'll pick his spots with it, but it's not going to be the the main thing. I think ultimately righty, if you watch this guy pitch righty, you see it right away. Oh, he's got great shit. So that's exciting. It makes me want to go look him up on TJ Stats for a second, because we have so much interesting talk in the chat about Sinja. I'm really struggling with that. All right, top 100 prospects. Wow, he's not even in the top 100 on TJ Stats. He's out on him. We need the apps then. Baseball apps. I'm gonna look at the MILB pitch plots. See if I can find one for this guy. Pitcher, we want level. I don't think he didn't get to AA, so we'll go to A. Huh. Struggling. Let's just go prospects, see if I can find this guy. What the freak is going on right now? This is driving me insane. All right, let's try A ball. Am I spelling it wrong? I know I'm going to see in the chat if people are making fun of me. Only the FSL has data in low A, so we won't have any data. So we're wasting our time. Dang it. Sorry. Took a little detour for no reason there. Really wanted to watch that. Big like, new sub, and Mets fan. Welcome, welcome, Biscuits. Former Met Jesus Baez. Met fan here. Mets haven't produced a Hall of Fame position player ever, so I'm very cautious about claiming Benj will be anything close to that. I haven't heard the Mets claiming this either. I'm just saying it's like fans always want the shiny new prospect. They think the prospect's going to come in and be the next coming of Juan Soto. Just happens very rarely. That's all I'm saying. This happens very rarely. You know, where's Dominguez at right now? Some fans want him gone. So, you know, it depends. No, Newbart's a lefty. It doesn't make sense for the Yanks. Pirates were rumored on Newbar. Carlos Beltran is going in the Hall of Fame as a Met. I'm assuming Soto and Lindor locks as Met Hall of Famers. Alonso would be the next one if he could get himself into the Hall of Fame. You know, drafted, developed by the Mets. Pete would be that guy. I know he's a sensitive subject for Met fans right now. You know, just took out 2020 and 2021 data. Yeah, what did they felt like maybe the sticky was a bit of a factor during that time period. I think that would be fair. Plus the shorter run in 2020 could be, you know, his reasoning. I'm not sure. MLB got used to the sweeper. Yeah, you know, everybody wanted to steal my pitch, and then they were better than me, and it kind of pissed me off. So I can try to find his college stuff. I don't know. I don't know if I'm able to open that. But either way, I mean, you can see the righty stuff's pretty good. For sure. This Mets fan, Biscuits, does not want to start the season with Benj in left field. Yeah. I don't know. I just find it fascinating that people will like attach themselves to a prospect that they've never watched play and just assume that they're going to be better than the guy they'd be replacing. And I just think it's a little more complicated than that. That's all. So. All right, here's a question. Where do we think Ozuna signs? Righty power would be fascinating. Oh, here we go. Zach just put it in the Discord. I guess I could probably find a way to get it on here. Switch pitching, Durangelo. I still can't say the name. Still feel like I'm messing it up. 96.2 mile-an-hour sinker, 85.6 mile-an-hour slider, 89 mile-an-hour changeup, 92 mile-an-hour sweeper. My goodness. There's no way he throws a 92 mile-an-hour sweeper with negative 17. That would be unreal, especially when it's giving it a bad stuff plus. I guess it's only that's a fake. That's not real. So I don't think any of this data really makes much sense. I am Ozuna from the Braves. Oh yeah, MLB has their own pitch models. Like teams have their own pitch models, 100%. They bake the cake differently. If each team, and this is how they try to find diamonds in the rough, and how they, because like basically how you value something might be different to how another person values something, and so sometimes one team, it's like the old adage, like one person's trash, another person's gold or whatever. That can be very much the case. That can be very much the case. Yeah, that was probably a sinker because it was coming from the other hand. So yeah, I just noticed that as well. But it's too much, and I can't get it on screen very easily. It would take, I have to email it to myself. It's a whole process right now. The airdrop does not work very well on this MLB iPad. So yeah, the pitch was from the other side. I was gonna say 92 mile an hour, negative 17. That's not a thing. That would be freaky if you could do that. Would the Twins trade Buxton? Because that's the guy I want on the Mets. Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I don't think he's getting traded right now. Not for nothing, like as much of a disaster as the Twins are right now, Falvey being gone, they're still going to be in the mix on paper in that Central. Buxton finally had a pretty healthy year last year. Put up a 136 OPS plus, 878 OPS plus his usual defense. Where's Buck in terms of, he signed an extension, right? Yeah, he's so affordable. Like he would obviously has the injury scenario, in his past, but I think he would still command a pretty penny because he's going to be the starting center fielder for Team USA most likely. So, he's huge, and only at 15.142 million over the next year is very affordable. There is $11 million performance and award bonuses, so I don't know, maybe that changes the calculation here, but I don't know. I don't think the Twins are necessarily like not trying either. And as much as I think a lot of teams would like to pluck Buxton, and I've been mentioning Royce Lewis as well, but he's a buy low at this point. I don't think the Twins do it. I think they run this team back and they try to compete in the Central. I think them decimating their bullpen hurts their chances, but we'll see. I don't want him. Guaranteed career-ending injury if he joins the Mets. Man, there are so many. There are so many. There's so much PTSD with Mets, man. Mets fans, PTSD. Unbelievable. All right, Senja. Okay, we're gonna go with that for now. Durangelo, Senja. I hope I'm getting it right. Hopefully Royce Lewis can bounce back. I love Royce Lewis. I've been saying other teams should be on him. You would have to probably give up a lot, but who knows? All right. Hey, Otto, question regarding MLB The Show. Have they already taken you out of the game, or how does that process towards the end work? I mean, I think they just go off of the actual rosters. So, yeah, I won't be on any 40-man roster, so I won't have any new card for this year in MLB The Show. I do think that my old card still exists. And at one point, I had the real 99 card where, like, you email, if you're a player, you email them, and they send you, like, a card that only you can play with, which makes you a 99. And I played with that for a little bit, but I kept giving up runs with it. So I was like, this is so stupid. Like, I have a freaking 99 rated card of myself, and I suck. So, I don't know. I might get an Italy card. Yep, might get. Got to make it to the finish line, though. Played catch again last night. Still feel trash. Got to get over the hump soon, or my WBC dreams are going to go by the wayside. But I will be announced tomorrow on the roster, so that's exciting, and we'll see how it goes. Buxton has a no trade clause, said he wants to stay. I'm sure that will change if they start super bad. He had already wavered on that a little bit when he saw all the trades. He was kind of like, damn, like, am I going to be here alone? So I'll be curious to see how this all works out, whether he pushes it one way or the other in the future here. Love the channel and the streams. Hope to see it continue to grow. Appreciate that, Roberto. Thank you very much for joining us. WBC News, Aroldis Chapman not approved for Great Britain, the WBC, because his lineage-based documentation did not prove eligibility. Yes, so you can't just say, like, oh, like, I'm a descendant of this distant descendant from this region, from this nation, and I should be able to play for them. You actually have to prove it. Like, I had to prove the chain of custody from a grandparent to a parent to me, where they were born, immigration papers, birth certificates, all that sort of thing. So it's not that easy to get approved, and we're seeing that a little bit right now. Weatherholt not Korean enough, Chapman not British enough. So among all the other issues with the insurance, some guys are getting denied because they're not eligible to play for those countries. So it's all interesting to see. What are your expectations for Stanton as a Yankees fan? He's my favorite player. I need him to hit 500 home runs. I think he's getting pretty damn close. I love Big G. I think he's been a good Yankee. I know that, the injuries have been part of the story, of course, and he's never really gotten back to his young athletic peak, with the Marlins or whatever, but this guy's still a damn good hitter. He had a 944 OPS last year. I know it's only in 281 plate appearances. But this guy raked. He's at 453 home runs, makes him the active home run leader. 47 more. I mean, it's going to happen. 1 or 2 more years, it's going to happen. I love Big G. The Yankees lineup is much better with him in it. He's so much more of a threat. I do think it sucks that he hasn't been able to stay on the field a ton and kind of takes away that DH spot a little bit. But I'm a fan of him. I think he'll get to the 500. It's just a shame, like, this generation of fans thinks of him as this, like, immobile, one-trick pony type of player, where I remember him as a kind of a do-it-all, superhuman type of player with the Marlins when he was younger. So, he's in a different stage of his career, but still a hell of a career. 453 dingers, 874 career OPS, 37% above league average for his career. So, Big G's the man. Forza Italia, baby. We're going to find all these rosters out. I bet you that'll be a big part of Friday's show. Looking at the rosters. I mean, right now, where we are going through a lot of this insurance scandal right now, or debate right now, and I'm curious to see if Lindor and people like that get cleared, and then, then we can start getting really excited about this tournament. But there's definitely a few I's to dot and T's to cross before we get there. And like Jazz is on the British team, but we'll get to find out about these other players as well. Saw Boston Strong on Twitter just said Wilson Contreras is also waiting for insurance to clear him, so that's a big thing. It's a big thing. Is 500 home runs a lock for the Hall of Fame? I think so, but I don't know. Hall of Fame is tricky. It's tricky. One thing, speaking of WBC, Austin Wells is going to be on that, which I freaking love that. This is so cool. He's going to be on that Dominican roster. I bet you he's already listed, because the full Dominican roster is out there. I've seen it. But yeah, Austin Wells, man. I mean, in a sea of Platino power, there's a man with a mustache down there who might be doing some catching. Him and Yanier Diaz. Austin Wells, I love that. I know Zach Britton was recruited to be on the Dominican team back in the day. Ended up not participating for them, but this is very cool. Also, I mean, we'll get into all this on Friday, but Dominican, a lot of people were like, oh, they don't have the pitching, whatever. Like, they got some pitching. This freaking bullpen is stuffy. Uribe, Abreu, Doval, Estevez, Santana, Uceta, Alvarado, Soto, Brazabon, Dominguez, Peralta. Woof, that is a stuffy bullpen. A lot of velocity, a lot of service time, a lot of career saves. You're going to see this team, if you can't hit velocity, you're going to have trouble with the DR team. Starters right now, Bayo, Sanchez, Sevi, and Sandy's also pretty damn good. So, I don't know. When I do my WBC preview, obviously there's a big three in this tournament, Japan, US, and Dominican, based off on paper, on the rosters. It's kind of hard to put one over the other, but don't sleep on the Dominican pitching staff. Obviously, the lineup's a joke, but this is a ridiculous bullpen. Like, this is nasty. This is gasolina. So it's going to be very interesting. Sheriff Austin Wells on the squad. The fireman stash on the DR. It's beautiful. It's a thing of freaking beautiful. Now, Diaz will be on the team. Diaz will be on the team, Uncle Ted. Well, at least from what I had seen. He just won his ARB case, so unless they're switching it up. Actually, you know what's crazy? He might have got taken off. I see a Webster Rivas down here. Miguel Amaya. So, I don't know. How does the Dominican lineup go? Let's just guess really quickly, just looking at this. All right. I'm gonna say Tatis, Soto, Vlad. Tatis, Soto, Vlad. Tatis, Soto, Vlad, Marte, Caminero, Perdomo, Machado, and maybe Julio down towards the bottom. There's no easy way to make this lineup. I guess I'd have to do a little more digging and thinking on this, but of course you need to have Soto, I think, in the 2-hole, and I love Tatis in the leadoff spot. I mean, you could do J-Rod there, but I love Tatis as a leadoff hitter. He's a scary guy to face. Yeah, Julio batting 9th. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. Where do you fit it in? I mean, you'd like to have some more table setters at the bottom of the order to then flip the order back around. I'm pretty set on my top 3. I'd like to see Tatis, Soto, Vlad, but that's just me. Yeah, 2 Soto, Vlad 3 is the only lock. I think so. I mean, you could bat a lot of guys 3rd, but I think Vlad's kind of earned it at this point. He's one of the caballos on this team. God, this is going to be an exciting tournament. This is going to be an exciting tournament. I'm fired up for this tournament. Holy cow. All right. We're going to have a lot of time to talk about that come Friday. All right, what else did I miss? Carlos Santana, still kicking, signing with the Diamondbacks. 39 years, 302 days. So he'll play this year at age 40. Good for you, man. Good for you. What a longevity. Debuted at 24 back in 2010. Same year I debuted, except this guy's been grinding out games for years. Even was a catcher at one point. Switch hitter, known for his on-base percentage, his batting eye. Tremendous. He's actually the active leader in walks, it looks like. 1,330 walks. Career on-base percentage of 352, which is tremendous. Last year, he played for both the Guardians and the Cubs. Was actually 1.3 WAR for Cleveland. He's been known as a pretty good defender at first when he's out there. I thought this was a spot for maybe Goldie to go back to the Diamondbacks, but instead it's Carlos Santana. So a little switch hitter action. You know, he's definitely declining. He's not the same hitter, but he'll draw you a grid. He'll draw you a walk. He'll battle you pretty hard. And yeah, look at that defense. 95th percentile. So he's also affecting you in a very positive way when he plays first base. I think he's been a damn good first baseman ever since he's gotten over there. Yeah, look at his outs above average. He was known as a bad catcher, but the outs above average are so strong for his career. What a freaking career, man. He's been elite at all the plate discipline metrics for his whole career. Ks, walks, whiffs, chase. You know, hard hits come down, obviously, as he's, you know, not a spring chicken anymore. But very fascinating player. We'll see how he affects this team. Let's go look at the lineup right now. As I mentioned, Diamondbacks were kind of at a crossroads. There was a lot of talk about trading Ketel. They end up not doing that. Where's the NL West? Right here. You know, now they added Nolan. They've added another veteran in Santana. It's an interesting little ball club right here. Perdomo, Marte, Carroll, Moreno, Pavin Smith, Nolan, Santana, Alexander, Thomas as the current starting group. I do think defensively they just got a lot better. Obviously, anytime you have Nolan at third, and then you got Carlos Santana now at first, now your corner infield defense is much improved on that extremely fast infield in the desert. And we know about the top 3 in the order, so they're going to keep going. Still curious what happens with Zach Gallen if he ends up back in this team. But yeah, I definitely thought the writing was on the wall for Goldie to go back. Does not seem like that's a thing anymore. Carlos Santana signs for the $2 million, which is very affordable, obviously, and he'll be there. So let's just see. You know how long Carlos Santana's been in professional baseball? His initial signing team was the Dodgers in August of 2004. We're in 2026. He's over 20 years of pro ball. That's freaking awesome. That's freaking awesome. What a longevity for Carlos Santana. And he's supposed to be a great clubhouse guy, too. Also, a great musician as well, if you're into that sort of thing. I trade Perdomo to the Yankees for a haul. Perdomo would be a great fit with the Yanks at short. And his value's got to be at the highest ever right now. You know, coming off of a huge year where he was like third in position player WAR or something last year. Geraldo Perdomo. So exactly how high was that WAR number? It was big. It was big. Yeah, 7 WAR season last year. Are you kidding me, bro? 851 OPS plus good defense. You want to talk about a good savant page. Hit a triple off me once. Look at this savant page. This is fantastic. He's a 87th percentile defender, and outs above average at short, but then offensively he's incredible. And that's despite the fact that he doesn't swing hard. Just incredible swing decision guy. This is just a good baseball player. And he's on a team-friendly deal. Is this the case, though? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, the QO thing with Gallen could make him go back to the Diamondbacks. If they do that, I mean, they're going to be a good team. The NL West is very competitive, man. Very competitive this year. This is how it finished last year. 4 teams over 80 wins. The Giants aren't going. The Padres are continuing to go. The Dodgers are the Dodgers. Diamondbacks are continuing to go. Very competitive league in the top 4 here. Wonder how that will go. Did that actually happen? Did he get announced to the Cubs? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Yep. The old 7 WAR season for Geraldo Perdomo. It's a hell of a year. This, I don't know. This is a tough thing to answer. In Arizona, you got a very fast infield. You got big gaps with a pretty big outfield. It's a really good place to hit in general, but it's not a course field either. How high does the chase field, the aircraft carrier looking, air hangar looking place, how high up does it rank? Ranks as the 3rd best field to hit in. What is it? Super inflate doubles, 204 on triples, 115 on doubles, hits in general. It's actually a deflation in home runs, but I think that's also a function of they don't have a ton of power right now. I don't know. It's weird. Like they have slight altitude in Arizona, but I always felt comfortable pitching there. I felt like my stuff was nasty there. It's the mound I threw my hardest ever pitch on. Yeah, some batted ball situations because the infield's like a track. Like every ground ball feels like it could get through. But that also informs, the fact that I like Nolan being at 3rd there. You combine that with the rest of their infield. They have a really good infield defense, which I think is good when you have a tough infield to play. But yeah, I mean, it's a great place to hit, obviously, looking at this chart over the rolling past 3 years. I mean, it's the 3rd best hitting ballpark in the big leagues. So, take that with a grain of salt as we think about performances there. I'm sorry, but teams value prospects way too much. Not getting Gallen or Framber because of 40-plus pick is insane. Yeah, the QO is really a strangle at times. I mean, I would probably take the over because it's hard to only win 51.5 games, Jamin, but they're in a tough spot. He doesn't hit hard, so gap to gap, which is perfect for him. Yeah. Yeah, I was also upset. Them and the Tigers were the only people with that runway, the keyhole, and now that's gone. I used to kind of like it as a pitcher. I felt like it could funnel me into the strike zone, if that made sense. TJ Rumfield will rake in Colorado. Okay, I had a question here about George Springer. Let's get into that. So Springer had a huge bounce back year, as we all know, last year. I mentioned that when we had played the Blue Jays in 24, and I watched him running around in the outfield and some of the ways he was swinging it at the plate, I felt like he might have been cooked. It looked like athletically it was a wrap. But big credit to George. He's a hell of a ball player. And to go from a 674 OPS and a 732 the year before, then bounce back with a 959 OPS last year, hitting more home runs, played well in the postseason. Didn't play a whole lot of defense, so they're kind of keeping him out of the outfield now. Do I think he can do it again? Well, look, as you get older, your approach gets better. Your wisdom is there. Everything that he's been through is going to make him a smarter ball player for sure, but the physical stuff's real. How long can he maintain how he felt last year, especially playing on that turf? I don't feel like we have any answers to that. So I wouldn't expect him to be quite as good. I mean, a 959 OPS is insane. I feel like Springer finished in how high up in the MVP voting last year? And I think it's unfair to expect that again. He was 7th in the AL MVP last year. I mean, he had a stupid good year. It's his best ever year by on-base percentage. 399 on base. That's his best ever. So do I think the skills are there to continue to have another great season? Yeah, and he's not 40 or anything. Like he could athletically be okay, but would I expect him to be this good again? Probably not. If I had to take the over-under, I would probably take the under, considering the last time he was better than a 4.8 WAR player was back when he was 29 years old in 2019. So it's been a while. This was a great burst, and I hope for the Blue Jays fans he can bounce back and be really good, but I wouldn't expect him to be exactly as good as last year, personally. Let's see here. And yeah, he had a 450 OPS in spring last year. Shows how useless spring stats are. Yeah, spring, you cannot hang your hat on spring training. It's an illusion. Total illusion. How did he not win Comeback Player of the Year? Who did win it? New hitting coach last year, plus being full-time DH was a revolution. I do think the full-time DH thing, that's a very good point here. The fact that they kept him off his feet, that might have, and maybe he figured out a really great routine in that cage between at-bats, that could be important. That could be an actual level up, something that he figured out. Maybe he is going to be a great DH raker the rest of the way. But I'm not expecting it. I'm expecting him to be good, but maybe not as great as he was last year. Third best OPS last year, better than Cal. I mean, he was that good. I mean, a 400 on base plus 32 pumps. It's a hell of a season. As an attorney and sports fan, I would pay to view the Skubal Arb hearing. I mean, dude, I'd block out my whole calendar for this today. Like, nothing would matter except watching this if it were me. So, too bad we can't, though. Santander needs to figure it out now. I think he will. Look, he was hurt last year. I mean, the whole goal for him is to feel good up there, and he's kind of the forgotten man. But this guy can really hit when he's right, man. He really, really can. He was so good for Baltimore. He only got 194 plate appearances last year. We never got to see the real Anthony Santander. 814 the year before with 44 pumps. Basically an 800 OPS the year before that. Very consistent at the plate those years with the Orioles. He was very good. Hit the ball hard. Doesn't really do much on defense. But if he can bounce back the way that they would like, the Blue Jay offense just gets that much deeper. I also love the Okamoto signing, which I've talked about. Maybe my favorite signing they made this year. Where do they have Santander? They have him hitting behind Vlad. So he's also like very important just from lineup construction too. Oop. He's also just very important in lineup construction too. Because you need somebody to hit behind Vlad. He'd be a perfect candidate if he's raking. So we'll see. I see this question. This is a possibility. We could talk about that in a minute. I've said a lot about Christian Scott. He's kind of the forgotten man with the Mets. I think he's going to make an impact this year. Great kid, good head on his shoulders, very hardworking, very good stuff-wise. I'm a fan of C. Scott's a lot, and I think he will impact the Mets. Be curious to see if he can remain as a starter, but he's really good. He's really good. Okay, what was that question? I saw it a second ago. Possibly talk about the Dodgers' upcoming battle for second base between Freeland and Kim. Doesn't it? Wait, timeout. Somebody just put one in there, but then it went away. Well, I did see this. The Lindsey Vonn, she's going to rock it without her with torn ACL. Credit to her. See if she can do that. Talking about C. Scott? I don't think he needs to make any changes yet. He was hurt when he pitched in the big leagues. So Christian's got good stuff. He's got a good sweeper, throws hard. They'll continue to add more to his arsenal, but I don't think he needs to change anything yet. He just needs to be in the strike zone. He needs to locate really well up in the zone with that four seam. Figure out a lefty approach a little better. He's got a little split thing, but C. Scott's going to be good. Not worried about him yet. I was looking at the Jays bullpen and Fangraphs. Was shocked to see some of the names in the minors like Fisher and Fluharty. Yeah, here's the bullpen currently. Hoffey, Yimmy, Rogers, Varlin, Little, Tommy Nance, Lauer, and that's with 6 starters right now. So yeah, Fluharty, Fisher, who I think Fisher will be on the team most likely. They have more depth though than usual. I still think this bullpen could have used another high-end guy, honestly, but Rogers is going to be really consistent. He's a really useful guy, just not really a fireman. So Hoffman and Varland have to stay healthy because one of those guys probably needs to close and the other needs to be fireman no matter what. So we'll see. I'm always curious, why is lefty-lefty matchup worse than righty-righty? It's just because you don't grow up facing as many lefties. Righties grow up their whole life facing righty pitchers, so they're kind of accustomed to it and used to that angle. Lefties, there's just not as many lefties in the population, especially pitchers. So if you're a lefty hitter, you grow up facing mostly righties. And then, as you move up the chain, because of analytics, a lot of times they'll platoon guys. And so lefties won't see hardly any lefties. And then by the time they do see them, they're just horribly uncomfortable. And I think ultimately that's the main reason. It's just the scarcity of lefties in like amateur pitching relative to righties. And as you come up, you just don't see them as often. Only 24% of all pitchers are lefty. So that's a big deal, in my opinion. Watch Tong. He's landing on the heel and not the ball of his foot. Tong does have good extension, though. He does. He kind of jumps out there. But I think because his stride's so long, it's hard for him to get to the ball of the foot while still, because he's also in his lean back to get the arm up high. So there's a lot of jamming in there. It's an interesting delivery. We'll see. We'll see with Jonah. That would be fun. Blue Jays never liked me. They never were in on me ever. So we'll see. Do I think Polanco will be good first? Look, I have no idea, but I think first base is tricky. There might be some growing pains here. This was a curious move when the Mets made it. This is one of the ones I'm not as high on. Love the Robert trade. Love the Peralta trade. Love a lot of the stuff, but I'm not as big on the Polanco thing, maybe. So we'll have to watch. Lincecum literally leapt, though, Uncle Ted. And it's not like Tim stayed healthy. Tim's hips, with all that triple extension, the hips went bye-bye. So it was a short-lived thing with him. I'm curious to watch Jonah this year. He was such an interesting year last year. 40% punch-out rate in the minors, arguably the most electric pitcher in the minors. Showed flashes in the big leagues, but wasn't very good. Really? overall. So I'd like to see what adjustments he makes, not only from pitch mix, but also from command. And then we'll see if that delivery starts to shift, if that's something he can consistently do, because the delivery is part of what makes him unique. Is it something that he can do long term? Is it something that's going to hold him up? We'll see. We'll see. All right. This is about C. Scott. I love him. Reminds me of when Wheeler got injured. Yeah, Wheeler for a while with the Mets, people didn't even talk about him because the other guys had all the hype. And then he came back and was really good. Which team will sign Gallen? Look, I have no idea, but with the QO thing, I do think there's a world in which he could get back to the Diamondbacks because they're not penalized in that situation. So we'll see. Polanco hits really well against lefties, hits both well with runners in scoring position. Both things the Mets struggled with. Yeah, so Polanco made some adjustments last year in what he did at the plate, and it was a really good offensive year for him. Like a really good offensive year. And it's just a matter of, is it sustainable? Can he maintain what he was doing? Because the year prior, he had a 651 OPS. But last year, he was legitimately great. 821 OPS. There was some changes made under the hood. I believe his bat speed got a lot better. Let's see. Bat speed went up a little bit. Swing length remained short. He squared up the ball more often. There was something else that had changed big time here. Well, he's hitting the ball a lot harder. So, like, those are all things under the hood that give you a lot of confidence that he can keep going. We'll see, though, man. We'll see. I don't think Citi Field's that great place to hit. And first base, he's going to be putting a lot of his brain power towards that. So I'm curious to watch it. Mets are definitely buying into some of the under the hood changes. Like his strikeout rate was incredibly good last year. So he combined like punching out less with hitting the ball harder. That's a great combination. Let's see if he can keep doing that. He's only 32, so he's kind of right where you should be, maybe at your peak at this point. Ryan Clifford is the next Pete. So he might be really good, but I push back on the next Pete a little bit. I mean, Pete Alonso's don't grow on trees. Set the all-time Mets home run record in 7 short seasons. So, including a shortened season. Like, he's special. Hopefully, this is true, and Clifford can be the next guy because he's a big power prospect. But let's wait and see. We got to keep keep some respect on that Pete Alonso name for sure. I think people are too high on Benj. All his stuff comes close to Cole Young, Darrell Hernandez, and Alert. All more of the data from the short stint in AAA. I mean, when I watched him, look, there's no doubt he's a speed power prospect. He's going to be a defender. He's moving quickly. He's a great athlete. I think he's got a lot of movement in the swing. I'm curious how that plays at the highest level. When we scouted him, I said, ooh, there's a lot going on with that load, and we'll see how that goes with the major league pitchers. This is sad. Washington Sports, one of the best. Washington Post had one of the best sports sections in the nation, so this sucks. I don't know what's going on in this country, man. So much weird stuff. Everything's shifting. Would it make more sense if the Mets shift Semien to third and Bichette to second? No, because up the middle defense is so important, and Semien is a dog at second base. Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's no guarantee Semien would be as good at third. And Bichette, I think his biggest problem on defense is range. So at second base, you're going to have to cover more ground than at third. I like the alignment with Semien at second and Bo at third. Curious to watch Bo, but Semien's almost a lock to be really good at second. So you might as well keep that. Him and Lindor with Robert up the middle, and the catching pair they have is as strong as any team up the middle defensively in the big leagues. And you don't mess with success. Look at the outs above average for Semien since 2021? I mean, he's never been worse than 87th percentile. Really, really good defender. So when you have something that's that good, you just leave that alone. So that's what I would do there. A lot of people think Beatty needs to be moved. We'll see. 40 outs Semien had in Globe Life would have been home runs in Shea. Well, we don't play in Shea anymore, Unc. Clifford's the next Pujols. Yeah. Let's just see. I mean, what has Ryan Clifford really done yet? Hit some home runs and struck out a lot. He's number 6. What were his stats last season? Between AA and AAA. Hit a combined 237 with an 826 OPS. Pretty solid. Although, let's not forget the strike zone's a little different in AAA with the ABS. Everything was a little bit lower, so there's not as much exposure to that up velo, Major League velo at the top of the zone, which is something I would suspect this guy might struggle with. 29 home runs last year. So, yeah, I mean, he's a power prospect, big-time power prospect. Walks are pretty good. Strikeouts aren't as bad as you would think. So we'll see. Definitely curious to watch him. Mets paid a pretty penny for him in that he was part of that Verlander trade. So they ate a lot of money to take on this guy. So, you know, he'll obviously get his chances. But we'll find out. Again, I just think Pete is incredibly special with the power. So, incredibly power. Bo will be fine at third. His arm will be good enough. He doesn't need as much range. That's my thoughts on the conversation about third, second, short. I just think make it so Bo doesn't have to range as far, and you might end up with a solid defender again. You know. Clifford has a really passive approach. Yeah. Yeah, so ABS is in MLB, but I think that the definition of the strike zone is still going to be a little different in MLB than in AAA. One thing that everybody told me about the AAA strike zone with the ABS the last few years is just like it really hurt pitchers who used the four seam at the top of the zone. The top of the zone was a lot smaller, a lot lower. And if that were to carry over to the MLB, that would have insane consequences. So I don't think that's the case. I think the Major League definition of the zone will continue to be there. But I don't know. That could change the entire game if that's the case. Yeah, look at Bubba, Chandler, and Painter. They struggled with it. Those are four-seam guys, right? So it's hard. You take away a whole section of the strike zone where you thrive, and it's tough. And it's tough. Bubba dominated with the ABS. Bubba's got good control, though. He throws control. He's a control guy. Was Bubba that great in AAA? I don't think he was that great, guys. I thought Bubba struggled a little bit in AAA. Am I wrong about that? I mean, a 4.02. Oh, that's in the big leagues. Yeah, 4.05. I mean, it's good, but it's not like a 2.7 that everybody was talking about. 1.48 WHIP for Bubba Chandler in AAA. I think that was a factor. I think the ABS. Oh, without the ABS. Okay, you got it. Yeah, now we're on the same page. Anyway, I think that's a big factor when looking at pitchers in the minors right now. Understanding what the zone is, what the hitting environment is. You know, it's going to be interesting to watch that. Do you think Ponce will be okay going from the KBO back to MLB baseball? Even a small difference in the ball can create big difference in pitches. Well, I'm sure he's been training with it all year, and I'm sure that there'll be some effect, some downgrading effect to switching to this ball. But he also unlocked some things. He's got new pitch types, he's throwing harder. Blue Jays are buying in, so I'm curious to watch it. Fascinating to me how well he did relative to some of the other guys that came over. You know, Anthony Kay played in a harder league in Japan. Maybe not a harder league in terms of the hitting environment, but generally considered a better quality league, the Japanese league, and he didn't get nearly as much money as Ponce did. So they're buying into like all the changes that he made, and they think it'll translate. So I'm curious to see what difference that makes. Huge difference in KBL is tacky and has huge seams. Yeah, I believe he either start throwing a different split or a kick change or something like that to get major drop. What baseball do you use in WBC? MLB ball. MLB ball. No different. Because MLB is the organization that puts on the event, so it's their ball. It's going to be interesting. And this is the other thing about Ponce. Like, he started throwing a lot harder. So, I mean, he's sitting 95 now. He wasn't like that when he was with the Pirates, when he was a little bit younger. I think he was like more 93. So, he's fundamentally a different pitcher stuff-wise. Stuff should change, and then we'll see if the results follow. Okay, let's go do our winter ball check-in. As I mentioned, there was a couple games yesterday and the day before. We're in the round robin stage. I can't on this form. I can't get you the standings, but Dominican's undefeated so far. Team Mexico Rojo now 2-1. Let's go to their box score from yesterday. This was versus Team Puerto Rico. 3-0 shutout victory. Is this Squid? Yeah, this is Squid playing short for Mexico. For Team Puerto Rico. Manuel Rivera, Isan Diaz. So, yeah, they play this round robin until they can, distill it down to the two teams, and then they'll have a little showdown in the finals. And in the other one, Mexico Verde beat Panama. So Panama's now 0-2, and Mexico Verde is 1-1. It's weird that Mexico had to split their team up. They'd be a lot stronger, right, if they could just combine it. But with Venezuela being out of the Caribbean Series this year, they couldn't do that. This Mexico Verde team does have some names that we would remember here. Meneses, Florial, Despagne. They have some guys. Is this Sixto Sanchez? No, Sasagi Sanchez. So don't know who that is. On the Panama team, Camargo, maybe Betancourt. They're kind of a guest entry into the Caribbean Series this year, so they're not expected to do a whole lot. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on this. On the previous day, DR beat Puerto Rico. The Dominican team, I think, is the heavy favorite in this tournament. They have a very, very strong team. Eni Romero started that game with 5 scoreless. Frias, Carrasco, Jan, Colome, Jimmy Cordero, like a lot of big league guys. Adames, Lake, Brito, Gonzalez, Nunez. A lot of guys with big league pedigree at least. So I would imagine they're the favorite, at least to get into the final. So we'll see. Nelson Velasquez won Fall League MVP once. Wow. Okay. Yeah, WBC is going to be great. First time we get to see a lot of people's data, whether it's minor leaguers, whether it's guys from overseas. Like once the Japanese guys get into the American ballparks, we get them under the Hawkeye. I love that stuff. I love that first discovery. It's part of the reason why I love doing those debut videos last year. It's like, okay, first time we really get to see him on the big league stage. Let's see what we think. So that's one of the most fun things, and I can't wait to do that this year. Hey, if you have thoughts of becoming a pitching instructor, you have so much knowledge. I think you develop a lot of young talent. So what I want to do is I want to start a private practice with just 3 to 5 pro pitchers, major league pitchers, where I can ride shotgun with them through the season and add value that way. That would be the most fun for me. As for kids, like I'm always talking to kids all the time and helping them out, and I think there's a lot of good nuggets on this show. But I'm not that interested in coaching from the youth level. I think a lot of my knowledge base is more major league based at this point. I've been stuck at the highest level for a really long time. So ultimately, I feel like I see the game through that lens a lot of times. So it's a little bit harder. And I have to figure out how to develop my own son, to be honest. So we'll see. If I'm a team, I pull the Soriano solution and sign Sato for opening day. So we're going to be doing big time talking about WBC rosters on Friday, because tomorrow there's going to be the actual release, the public release of these rosters. So now we're going to have a real idea of who's on what teams. We could start to get excited about it. I'll start thinking in my head when I want to do the real WBC preview each pool specifically. But yeah, it's definitely going to be the big 3. US, Japan, and Dominican, that'll be the favorites. There's a lot of other strong teams, though, so it's going to be curious how this one works out, but could not be more excited for this tournament, and especially with America putting out this pitching staff. I went to Punta Cana one December. The guys on the resort took me to be a catcher, and managed a trip to La Romana to catch a winter ball game with all-you-can-eat pizza and all-you-can drink. That's fantastic. I've talked about doing this when my kid gets a little bit older, when my son gets a little bit older, doing a little Dominican vacation, also mix in a little winter ball action. I think that would be a really good experience. See what it's all about in a place where they really, really have passion for the sport. Nothing like the Dominican for sure. Here's a question, a viewing question. Is the WBC all on Netflix? No. So Netflix has the Japanese rights. So in Japan, all of the WBC is through Netflix. In America, I believe it's Fox. So there's a lot of different TV rights all over the place, but pretty sure in America, you're going to get it through Fox. Obviously, if you had like a VPN or whatever, you could tap into Canadian or Japanese if you want to watch through Netflix. But yeah, Netflix they smartly bought up all those Japanese rights because you know that country is baseball obsessed. We saw the viewership in the World Series in the last WBC, and they're looking to capitalize on that. And Netflix, they put their money where their mouth is, and they have a lot of it. They're one of the biggest conglomerates out there at this point. Definitely can't wait for it though. Yeah, because it's like the first time we saw Roki and Yoshi when they pitched in Miami versus, I think it was Team Mexico. They both appeared. We got to see them and look at their data for the first time. You got to look at them. Yariel Rodriguez pitched for Cuba and like Taiwan. We got to watch him a little bit. So I'm curious to watch the first glimpses at these guys. Sato is a guy I'm excited to watch. A lot of the Japanese pitchers as well. Some of the Korean guys. It's just a very fascinating tournament, and I can't really wait for it. It's right around the corner. I'm starting to get my loading screens ready, my backgrounds ready, everything, so that we can get hot and heavy on the WBC. Thursday is WBC roster reveal. Yeah, I believe there's a whole show that maybe MLB Network's doing or something where they're going to reveal all the rosters. So keep your eyes open for that tomorrow. And then we'll talk about it on Friday for sure. That'll be a big-time WBC talking day. Royals signed Brandon Drury. This just happened. Minor league contract. I've talked a lot about how this is minor league signing season. So Drury, a guy that we know, former Blue Jay for the Jays fans, he's still kicking around, trying to get jobs. But this is definitely, I've talked about it before. This is minor league. A lot of times where people have to face reality and take these minor league deals, and then everybody else who's dead set on getting those major league deals, they're kind of holding tight here and trying not to lose their freaking minds as they know everybody else is going to spring training right now. Brewers agreed to deal with Jordan Adams. That's a minor league deal. Kyle Keller, minor league deal. I mean, you're going to see a lot of these. Kyle McCann. And you can't break them all down, but this is minor league deal signing season for sure. All right, what else is there? I don't know if there is anything else. That might be it for today. Got to about 12 o'clock. Got a couple orders I have to process and get those to the post office, so I might do that for a little bit, and then we'll see what else this Wednesday has to bring. I think I'm going to wrap it up right here, guys. Thanks so much for this, for hanging with me today. Thanks for all the thoughts on Donovan, on this Skubal situation today. I think that's going to be the thing I'll be keeping my ears and eyes peeled for today, is what's the result of the Skubal arbitration hearing. If you're in the Discord, I'm sure that'll be talked about quite a bit whenever those results come out. But yeah, that has downstream consequences. That's a big deal to pay attention to, and we'll see what else happens between now and Friday. Keep your eyes out for those WBC roster announcements as well. Stay warm if you're in a cold weather place. If you're in a warm weather place, good for you. And yeah, spring training is hot. It's on the way. It's less than 2 weeks away. We'll see if I can get my arm ready. But anyway, thanks so much, guys. Thanks for hanging with me today, and I'll see you guys on Friday. Adios.